Welcome to the studio this afternoon. We are starting our project that we told you that we had coming up, and we've been out and we have field measured and made patterns of each one of the individual opening. It was really a pretty day, but we didn't have enough scaffolding for height to get where we needed to go. So we just took the extension ladder off the truck and we went up on the roof. Well, lo and behold, the wind decides to start blowing 25 miles an hour. So we were making these patterns on top of the roof when the wind was blowing. And if you look right over here, we have a drawing of it. So these 4 panels here are gonna make this section of the window. So once we have these, this is the most fun part about putting the window together, is actually getting the pattern started and kind of seeing where you're gonna be. Now, I want you all to know that the inspiration for this window, and it's a rather large window, but the inspiration for this window is actually South Carolina's oak tree, or what we call the live oak tree. And you know, some of them here in South Carolina are 400 and 500 years old. We had one in our front yard one time here in Conway that my grandson, when he was little, said, "How big around is that tree, Papa Ed?" And I told him I didn't know, but we were going to find out. It was 23 feet 7 inches was the diameter of that tree. Now that's a large oak tree, and that was in our front yard. And but anyway, this is the theme for this window is the live oak tree of the low country of South Carolina. We're looking at the outside of this, so we're going to tape this together, and then we're going to flip it over once we get it taped together. And then of course these patterns are tight, so we're going to come in a little bit with a dark marker and shrink the openings by about a 1/4 of an inch. And because this window is done in a curtain wall, we know that it's 2 inches in between each one of the spaces that we have. And as long as we get our tops lined up, we want to line this up before we can tape it. Okay. And we know that there's 2 inches in between each one of these. Hold that right there. All right, so you can kind of see what we're doing here. It's kind of coming together. Stick with us, because we're going to have a good time today and showing you how to make this pattern. Once we get this all taped together and I get it blackened in around each one of these nodules, then we're going to flip it over, because again, we had to make the pattern from the outside, but the glass is going in from the inside. So we don't want to forget. Don't forget. So I'm using the black marker, a fatty, so that I can shrink the window a little bit. Now when I come in to put my other lines in, the window will be shrunk enough that I feel comfortable even if we made a tiny bit of a mistake while we were making the template. So I'll feel comfortable with that. And then of course we'll be using 3/8 flat H lead on the outside, and that'll give us a little bit more room if we actually need it, which I don't think that we will. So we'll be using to fasten these windows into the storefront. We'll be using what's called a 1/2 by 1/2 pre-punch stop. Those of you that do storefront glass and understand about the metal and everything, you know what I'm talking about. And then these windows are actually going in behind a curtain wall at the place of installation. We're going to complete, this section of the job here, and then I'm going to scale this down, flip it over, and then we're going to attach it to the wall, and then we're going to start working on the section that goes above this. So keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of work going on, because once we split this, now remember, there's another one of these. There's another one of these right there above that, so that it forms this window that is directly behind me. There's a little room for air, like about that much. Not very much, but we'll be fine. This is what we do, and Lord knows we enjoy what we do. we've always had a concept of what's going on with the project, but the actual design itself, we've been waiting until we actually had the glass in hand physically, and now we have it. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, and we're going to attach it to the center of the wall. So I'm just trimming off the excess paper around my pattern. I know it's roughly 2 inches. Well, it is 2 inches between patterns. So I'm just kind of trimming this up a little bit. Again, you know, you don't want to work on a dirty lamp, and you don't want to work on a pattern that has so much extra crap around it that you don't want to do anything. So now you can kind of see that I'm trying to keep about 2 inches. It doesn't have to be exact, because this is getting ready to get attached to the wall. And then once we attach the rest of the window to the wall, then we'll start the drawing process. I mean, don't go away. Stay tuned for all that. We got all that stuff coming up. And these are just some little pattern tips. Believe me, when you're 19 feet in the air making a pattern, this pattern looks a whole lot bigger. Now, if you remember correctly, in the beginning I told you that we ended up having to make the pattern from the outside. So, number 1 over here is the first window on the bottom right outside. The glass is going in from the inside. That's why that piece is marked 1BL. That reminds me that I have to and will flip my pattern over. A couple things happened really well. So when we made the pattern, this bottom lined itself up without me having to move it around, maneuver it around. So once this window is completely drawn and approved, then Barbara and I, we will finish it off by enclosing it in clear contact paper. So we're back in the studio. We've got this flipped over now, and we have blackened in the pattern on this side. And again, these are just the crow's feet of the window itself. So what we want to do is, again, we are going to use clear contact paper over top of this paper, but only when we're finished with the drawing. This is a really good series of videos for those of you that are maybe thinking about starting your own business, or maybe you are in business for yourself, need a few extra little tips or anything. We don't pretend to know everything here at Conway Glass. However, it seems like, you know, with hurricanes and flooding, everything in the area that we live in, and then all of a sudden the pandemic came up, seems like we've had to rewrite our business plan a lot of times. And it seems to be working. So check out this video, see how it works for you. This is how Barbara and I start our window for this huge project that we're doing. And again, this is 1/3 of it. We're gonna pull a few stops out on this window, and by that I mean we're gonna do some really creative stuff. We're gonna be using many different size LEDs, and also we'll be introducing copper foil technique into this window. So we're gonna have a lot of different things going on. You know, in this window, not only are we gonna have many different size profiles of lead, also we're gonna be introducing copper foil, because we've got some hand-painted birds that are going in this window,